In 2025, the creator economy isn't just booming, it's exploding. Artists, vintage curators, side hustlers, and full-time entrepreneurs are all looking for platforms that don't just showcase their work, but actually pay them fairly for it. And two marketplaces keep popping up in the conversation. Etsy, the established giant of handmade and vintage goods, and Depop, the fashion-forward resale platform that's become Gen Z's digital thrift store. But the question on every seller's mind is this: where do creators actually earn more today? Is Etsy still the best bet for sustainable income, or is Depop quietly overtaking it with cultural relevance and younger audiences? Let's peel back the numbers, the fees, the audiences, and the realities behind the hype, because the answer might surprise you. Etsy has been around since 2005, and in 2 decades it's grown into a marketplace with over 90 million active buyers and more than 7.5 million active sellers. It's the place people go for personalized jewelry, handmade candles, digital downloads, and vintage clothing. The platform's strength lies in its massive, built-in audience that's already primed to pay for unique goods. In 2024 alone, Etsy sellers generated over $13 billion in gross merchandise sales. That's not a typo, billions. For creators who know how to optimize listings, leverage SEO, and ride seasonal demand, Etsy can be a goldmine. Depop, by contrast, is the scrappy newcomer with a very different vibe. Founded in 2011, it quickly exploded among Gen Z, especially in fashion circles. With over 35 million registered users, roughly 90% of them under the age of 26, Depop is less about broad handmade goods and more about curated aesthetics. It's vintage Levi's jeans, Y2K crop tops, rare sneakers, and upcycled streetwear. If Etsy feels like a global craft fair, Depop feels like scrolling Instagram meets browsing your favorite thrift shop. And here's a twist. In 2021, Etsy actually acquired Depop for $1.6 billion. That's right, the same company owns both. But they operate differently and sellers experience them in very different ways. So where do creators earn more in 2025? Let's start with the not-so-fun part, fees. Etsy takes a 6.5% transaction fee on the sale price, plus a payment processing fee that ranges between 3% to 4% depending on your country, plus a flat 20-cent listing fee per item. That means for every $100 sale, you're giving Etsy around $10 once fees shake out. On Depop, the standard fee is 10% of the total transaction, plus a payment fee of around 3 to 4%. So in practice, the fees look pretty similar, but Depop actually takes a bigger bite of small ticket sales since there's no flat listing fee, it's all percentage-based. The difference, then, comes down to scale and audience. Etsy's search-driven marketplace favors creators who can rank in results, use keywords strategically, and build large inventories. Depop is more social-driven, like Instagram meets eBay. Success often depends on building a following, curating a brand aesthetic, and posting consistently. On Etsy, you can have a store with 500 digital download listings running passively in the background. On Depop, it's more about constant engagement, sharing items, refreshing your feed, even negotiating with buyers in DMs. In other words, Etsy scales with quantity, Depop scales with personality. But let's talk income, because that's the heart of this debate. The average Etsy seller, according to multiple industry reports, makes anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 per year, with top sellers pulling in 6 figures or more. Some digital product sellers, like those offering Canva templates, printables, or planners, report margins of 70 to 80% because once a product is created, there's almost no additional cost. Depop sellers, on the other hand, average closer to $300 to $2,000 per year. That's not pocket change, but it's a big difference. That said, the top Depop influencers, the ones who curate rare vintage collections or flip designer streetwear, are also pulling in 6 figures, but they're the minority. The ceiling is high on both platforms, but the average outcome skews higher on Etsy because of the platform's broader categories and customer spending habits. And here's where psychology plays a big role. Etsy buyers are often older, with more disposable income, and willing to spend on customization, personalization, and gifts. So, Depop buyers tend to be younger, really into trends, and, honestly, pretty price-conscious. On Etsy, it's totally normal to see a $200 custom necklace and not even blink. But on Depop, if you're listing a thrifted item for $200, it needs to be something truly rare or super in demand to actually sell. That doesn't mean you can't make a profit, it just means your pricing strategy has to match the audience you're reaching. Now let's ground this with some real seller stories. For example, there's Planner Kate, a digital download seller on Etsy, who specializes in planner stickers and templates. Her shop reportedly brings in over $100,000 a year, mostly from repeat customers and those seasonal designs. That's the power of scalability. You create something once, and then you can sell it thousands of times. Compare that to a top Depop seller like Internet Girl, who's built a cult following by curating Y2K-inspired vintage outfits and flipping them at premium prices. She doesn't just sell clothes, she's selling an aesthetic, a vibe, and really her personal brand. Both sellers are successful, but their paths are completely different. And then there's the issue of marketing. Etsy benefits from massive brand recognition and, well, SEO dominance. People literally type Etsy ring or Etsy mug into Google, which drives traffic straight to sellers. Depop doesn't have that same keyword advantage. Instead, it thrives on community and culture. Growth there often depends on how well you play into micro-trends, aesthetics, and the platform's almost Instagram-like dynamics. For sellers who love curating fashion looks, photographing outfits, and engaging socially, Depop feels natural. For creators who prefer to scale quietly with digital products or bulk listings, Etsy is king. But let's not forget scale under pressure. Etsy has proven time and again that it can handle billions in seasonal sales without breaking. Depop, while growing, hasn't seen the same kind of volume spikes, yet. But because it's owned by Etsy, it benefits from stability, infrastructure, and investment. Some even argue that Etsy acquiring Depop was a way to corner both markets. Etsy captures the gift-buying, craft-loving mainstream, while Depop secures the youth-driven resale culture. So, which platform pays better in 2025? If you're measuring by average seller earnings, Etsy still takes the crown. Its marketplace is larger, its audience spends more, and the opportunity for digital products creates almost infinite scalability. But if you're measuring by influence, relevance, and community-driven branding, Depop offers something Etsy just can't replicate: cultural cachet. On Depop, you're not just selling. You're curating a lifestyle, building a personal brand, and, well, tapping into Gen Z's obsession with sustainability and individuality. The truth is, both platforms can be profitable, but they require different mindsets. Etsy rewards consistency, SEO, and scalability. Depop rewards creativity, engagement, and curation. For creators willing to put in the work, many are now using both, selling their vintage clothes on Depop while offering digital downloads or handmade goods on Etsy. Diversification, after all, is the real key to income stability in the creator economy. So here's the bottom line. If you're a creator who thrives on aesthetics, fashion, and building community around your brand, Depop could be your playground. But if you're focused on volume, passive income, and a wider audience willing to pay more, Etsy is still the heavyweight champion. And maybe, just maybe, the smartest move in 2025 isn't picking one, it's leveraging both. So where do you stand? Do you think Etsy's broader market still makes it the best platform for creators in 2025? Or is Depop's cultural influence the future of online selling? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button if this breakdown gave you clarity, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the platforms, tools, and strategies that are shaping the way creators earn in the digital age.